sababu dunia hii imeenda ukabila, vyama vyote vya kikabila, na nikaona kwamba yule ambaye anaweza kuendesha kupeleka wananchi kama vile mimi ningependelea wananchi kuongozwa ni Uhuru Kenyatta.
Now, yesterday, the ODM brigade and the pro-handshake community was thrown into disarray and disbelief after David Murathe fired the first salvo since the handshake politics began. Now, David Murathe said that Uhuru Kenyatta and his Jubilee side were doing Raila Odinga and ODM a favor. And his statements kind of was trying to tell Raila Odinga and ODM that if they are dissatisfied with the way the parliamentary committees are being constituted, then they can as well quit. David Murathe is not your ordinary man. Politically speaking, David Murathe carries a lot of weight, especially on the president's succession politics. So he's a very important cog in that wheel, and it seems as if he's the troubleshooter in Uhuru's government. He is the mouthpiece of the president. So whatever he says absolutely carries a lot of weight. That is why the ODM brigade should not take his statements lightly. That is David Murathe, and that is why ODM and his supporters need to take his statements very seriously. But as I was reading, I found out I came across a very interesting article by one Suleiman Shabal in the Standard newspaper of June 23rd. Now, this is what Shabal said about power. Now, he tried to describe his relationship with Biwott, and he said something very interesting about what Biwott told him. Quote unquote, it reads, Mr. Biwott once told me that the president needs 5 men. One is the man who controls parliament. The second runs the machinery of government. The third is a man who can bring large amounts of money as and when required. And the fourth is the man who can mobilize thousands of people into the streets at short notice. Then he paused and said, the president needs an iron fist, a man who will come and knock out the teeth of anyone who opposes the president. So the president needs Mr. Fix-It-All. That is according to Biwott. You get that? So these are the 5 people that a president needs. Uhuru has all this. What Uhuru was lacking was a man who can actually come out and knock the teeth of everyone who is opposing him. And he has found a perfect person in David Murathe. So David Murathe, as it stands, is the latter-day Biwott. Remember, Uhuru is a student of Moi. And this explains why ODM and Raila Odinga need to take Murathe's words very, very seriously. I may not be a political analyst, but I'm a student of history. And history teaches us that we can use the actions, we can use our past to define our future and to predict our future, actually. So by using what happened in the past, we can easily predict the future. And if looking at, if you've been following politics of this country, you know what happened in the past. Moi, before he retired in 2002, surprised many when he announced that Uhuru Kenyatta was his preferred successor. When he said, "Kijana Uhuru Kenyatta natosha," he surprised many, because at this time there were so many other guys who were better than Uhuru Kenyatta politically speaking. There was Murathe, who was then his vice president. There was George Saitoti, there was Kalonzo Musyoka, there was also Raila Odinga, who had crossed over to merge his NDP with KANU at that moment. So we had very prominent people who could have become his successor, but Moi did not choose them. Instead, Moi went for Uhuru Kenyatta at that time. And if you follow that very keenly, we are seeing a repeat of the same thing this year. Uhuru Kenyatta has gone ahead and brought Gideon Moi into Jubilee. So they KANU and Jubilee have now merged. And Uhuru Kenyatta and Gideon Moi are now working very closely. What does that tell you? It tells you that Uhuru Kenyatta is keen on returning the favor that was done to him by President Moi in 2002. So I won't be surprised, and you can take this to the bank, I won't be surprised if Uhuru Kenyatta actually endorses Gideon Moi as his preferred successor. So this is the game plan here. Uhuru Kenyatta will endorse Gideon Moi. And endorsing Gideon Moi, Kalenjins will not say that Uhuru Kenyatta has betrayed them, because if William Ruto is a Kalenjin and is falling out with Uhuru Kenyatta will definitely bring another Kalenjin, who is Gideon Moi. So Uhuru Kenyatta will not have betrayed the Kalenjin community. Yes, he might have betrayed William Ruto, who is a Kalenjin, but not the Kalenjin community. Because what the Kalenjin community want is one of their own to be the presidential candidate of in 2002. It might be any Kalenjin, not just Ruto. So Uhuru will be very comfortable to bring in Gideon Moi and not William Ruto. So the Kalenjin community will not feel betrayed. Ruto might feel betrayed as a Kalenjin because the pact, because they had, Uhuru had promised him. But the larger Kalenjin community will not have been betrayed by Uhuru Kenyatta and the Kikuyu, because Gideon Moi is still a Kalenjin. The one who will eventually feel betrayed, if he's not part of the game, will be Raila Odinga. Why am I saying this? It's because Raila Odinga has been brought into the handshake. And now Raila Odinga is working very closely with Uhuru Kenyatta. And ODM supporters and the country expect a lot. In fact, speculations are ripe that Uhuru Kenyatta might choose Raila Odinga as his successor. This is not going to happen. Remember, before Moi retired, Moi also brought Raila Odinga into into KANU, only to embarrass him later on, only to put him aside and bring Uhuru Kenyatta. Now again, history is still repeating itself. We can see Uhuru Kenyatta having the famous handshake with Raila Odinga and bringing him very closer to him, very closer to power. And at the same time, he is strategically placing Gideon Moi, bringing Gideon Moi closer to him. So, like what happened in 2002, Uhuru Kenyatta will appoint Gideon Moi, or will endorse Gideon Moi as his preferred successor, and forget about Raila Odinga. History is repeating itself, and that is why Raila Odinga and his supporters must take Murathe's words very, very seriously. Something else will happen. Uhuru said he will surprise many, and indeed he is going to surprise many. He will return the favor done to him by Gideon's father. He will return that favor by appointing or endorsing Gideon Moi as his preferred successor.